Okay, so the Raspberry Pi Foundation have just released another version of Raspberry-Pi-Imager. Imager is a way of writing images to an SD card, a USB stick, an SSD drive, an M.2 drive. It makes it very, very simple. And the update should show, if you're running Bullseye, down here. So you can see here updates are available. Let's click on that and show updates. And we can see here Raspberry Pi Imager 1.7.1. So let's install that. And while it's doing that, let's have a look at the release notes. There was a version 1.7.0, which was the one I thought I was reviewing, but this has just been announced, 1.7.1. And if we have a look at 1.7, there was loads of changes happened in 1.7, not a lot, it's just a fix in 1.71. Here we go. I'm not that good at navigating around GitHub. I do find it confusing sometimes. Right, so show advanced settings button, that's one of the main ones. You used to have to press a couple of keys to get advanced settings up, but now it's easily accessible. Support for specifying a username, that sounds good. And lots of error fixes. So let's close that down and see if it's all updated, which I guess it has because we've got no notification down here. So let's launch it. Now Imager still doesn't come built into, oh, I haven't got the cog. Okay, so that was one of the fixes that they've been talking about in the forums. So I think I'm going to restart and see if I have got the cog. So let's launch it again after a restart. Imager. No, I still haven't got the cog. So choose that. Well, let's see if I choose an OS. I wonder, you get the cog then. And I would say that makes sense because not every operating system would allow you to make these changes. So I think it needs to have Raspberry config for it to be able to make these changes. So if I click on the cog, you can see that I've got some advanced options. We've had this a while, but we didn't have it so easily accessible. So you can set your host name. You can disable overscan, so this is the black border that you get around the screen. Enable SSH, so if you're remote accessing, username and password. Configure the Wi-Fi. I've actually covered these settings pretty much in another video for remote desktop, so setting up a headless Pi. So have a look at that video if you want to see those settings. I just wanted to show that there was a new version, but I also wanted to cover the basics of this. So if we go back to operating systems, so this is the standard operating system. If we go to Raspberry Pi OS Other, we have various different versions. So one without a desktop, one with a desktop and recommended applications. Then we have the 64-bit version, which has just come out of beta and is excellent. I've got a video on that recently. The light version, again with no desktop environment. The legacy version, which is designed more if you're using the maker side of the Pi, and so you're using the GPIO pins to power or control devices. And if we close that one, well, let's see what happens if we pick the 64-bit version. Do we still get that option with the cog? Yeah, we do. And if we try a different operating system, so what else have we got in here? So we go back, other general purpose OS. So Ubuntu should give us the cog because that comes with Raspberry config. Oh, it doesn't. So I wonder if it's that version, 2110. Actually, is it Ubuntu Mate that comes with Raspberry config and not Ubuntu maybe? So so that 32-bit version has, look. So the cog has shown up on that. So it looks like it's operating system specific. So let's go back, Manjaro ARM, 64-bit, do like Manjaro. That doesn't show up the cog, nor does that one. Let's try some of the older, there aren't any older versions. And they're all 64-bit versions. Apertis. Oh, that says headless. Oh, but it still doesn't give the cog. So it's obviously mainly for Raspberry Pi OS. But I did have this question recently where someone said the options didn't come up. So it looks like it's operating system dependent as to what it'll allow you to do. Yeah, so RISC-OS doesn't do it either. But one of the great things about Raspberry Pi Imager is if we scroll down to the bottom, this erase option is superb, and it has saved me countless USB sticks, SSD drives, SD cards. If you're having trouble with a device not being recognized by a computer, just format it with this, and then you can put it into the computer of choice and format it in whatever format you want. It will always format it as FAT32 because that's what the Pi uses. But yeah, it's definitely a great way of fixing things. Also in here we have the EEPROM configuration. So this can basically restore your EEPROM, the bit that the Pi boots from, to factory settings, and also update it as well. So it's worth having that as a fix. You can see there's a few more options here, other specific purpose OSs and other language specific OSs, but also we have use custom. So we click on that. That will then link us to our computer and we can find something that we downloaded separately. So something that's not available in Imager, say something like Android, you would be able to find it in your downloads if you've downloaded it separately. But I haven't got anything in my download section. So I've just booted up Twister OS just to show you what happens. So if I go to Imager, click on that, this will be the old version. You can see there's a new version. Do you want to download it? I'm going to say no for now, just for this video, because I don't need to show that for this bit. So choose OS. If we go down to the bottom and do custom, that will take me to my downloads folder, and as you can see I've got all sorts of things in there. And so if I wanted to write one of these, so say for instance Chromium OS, I would hit open, choose my storage. So I've got nothing plugged in there at the moment, so if I put a 128 gig SD card in, because I'm running my operating system from an SSD at the moment, you can see it comes up, it detects it. I'm not going to write over this one because I've only just installed it, but then hit write and that will write the image to the SD card, M.2 drive, SSD drive or USB stick, eMMC drive, or even an old mechanical hard drive. So let's go back to 64-bit Raspberry Pi OS for the rest of this video. So if you want to install this, because it still doesn't come installed in Raspberry Pi OS, and I can't understand why really, because it's a great piece of software and it's not a big footprint on it as well. So you can type in Raspberry Pi Imager and click on here, Raspberry Pi Imager, and if you scroll down this story you can see you can get it from the downloads page. And this is available for Windows, Mac OS and also Ubuntu x86, so a non-ARM based Ubuntu computer, but also you can install it into Raspberry Pi OS by using sudo apt install Rpi-Imager. It's also available in some app stores. In fact it is on this one, and I'm sure it's available in the Ubuntu app store. So if I go here and preferences and add remove software, let's see if this is still in the same place. So if I type in Imager, scroll down to the bottom, and you can see it's here, Raspberry Pi Imaging Utility. I've already got it installed, but you would click on that, click Apply and click OK, and that will also install it. Okay, so great work by the Raspberry Pi Foundation. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe.